Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, in January, called for a new approach to the deployment of security personnel for the 2019 general election. And that same month, security agencies in a meeting with state governors raised alarm that some politicians were stockpiling weapons to perpetrate violence during the forthcoming polls. Police force, in preparation for the general election, has redeployed state commissioners across the 36 states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory. Now, the new police commissioners have been charged to ensure that the polls in their various commands are peaceful, free, fair and transparent. The National Assembly in October 2018 approved the sum of 53 billion naira for the security for the election. And just 8 days to the general election, how prepared are security agencies, especially the police, which is the lead agency for election security? We'll be talking in the studio with security expert Tony Ofoyeton this morning. Tony, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, when you hear that politicians, or some politicians, are stockpiling arms, on the paper this morning, there was one of the headlines that said that a container truck, a container load of security issues, especially when it comes to police uniforms and all of that, was intercepted by customs and all of that. When you hear all of these things, do you have new concerns for the election when it comes to security?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. It's not new. It's not the first time we'll be hearing of such. The only thing is that I expect that the security agencies, having been aware that politicians are stockpiling arms and ammunition for the purpose of perpetrating violence, it is their responsibility to retrieve those arms. Because if you are aware that arms are being stockpiled, then you should follow the arm and recover the arms. If not so, I will now convert it to just mere media propaganda, which I don't expect security agencies to be involved in. What politicians will say, and it becomes, you know, a mere politics. For those that are in security, it's a serious business because it involves lives. What I expect is that you have arrested politician A, you have arrested politician B, and you have brought them to public to the extent that all their accomplices, all their thugs, and you have recovered X and Z amount of arms and ammunition, then it makes a lot of sense. Because now informing you, for example now, that politicians are stockpiling arms and ammunition, what are you expected to do? What will you do about it? It's of no use. It's inconsequential to you and I as,
that is, if the security agencies are not going about, just like you said, follow the arms.
Follow the arms. If you are not following the arms, don't tell us. Don't just bring fear and panic into people just for the sake of what? No, to me, it doesn't make any professional sense. I'm sorry to say, But if there had been arrests, if there had been recoveries and the like, of course, look at when customs said they impounded or they discovered X and Z amount of pump actions and the like. We saw those things. It was not a subject of contention. Nobody was debating about it. The only thing is that we don't know where those arms and ammunition are today. That's all. But at least we could see that, okay, these pump actions were recovered.
We want to assume that they have been handed over to the appropriate...
I am not in doubt about that. I assume that too, because that should be the protocol and all those stuff like that. But for now, the ones that politicians will come and they will say one, the security agencies will come and say, to me, let's have things that are empirical enough for us to establish such.
All right. What do you make of the deployment of the 36 commissioners of police across the country? The opposition is saying that they suspect some foul play or politics that is tainted. No. What do you think?
There's no reason for us to play politics about everything.
Okay.
Rather, to me, the opposition should even be comfortable. I was expecting them to be more comfortable, because the CPs that are in each of these states are already used to the state governors. They are already palace and the like. Changing the whole thing within a week to the election, to me, one is sent some level of the fact that the IGP, that's my own opinion, is trying to create some level of credibility. That, okay, you are used to these people that are on ground, let's bring in new people. That, for example, now, Ambode and Edgar, they've been very good friends, right from the word go, school and all those stuff like that. So bringing somebody that is not, too new, that is new and not too familiar with Ambode, to me, it speaks a lot of credibility. And the same thing in other states. PDP or APC or whatever name of party needn't bring an issue out of some of this, routine reshuffle. It happened in almost all elections.
But how about the issue of understanding the terrain? Because someone, like you said, because it's just the other side of the same coin. Some of these police commissioners have known these terrains for quite a while. So if you're bringing a new person who doesn't understand the terrain, it's going to take him a long time to try to decipher how to understand the terrain.
No, if you are talking of understanding the terrain, what you are simply saying is that we should go to state police straight. All right. So that is untenable as far as the structure of the police is today. Because Edgar you are talking about is not from Lagos State. And all the police, commissioner of police you are talking about, they are not from Lagos State. But you will observe that in the course of their career...
Anyway, we're not talking about Edgar
no,
necessarily.
I'm just using him as an example because it's a familiar name to us in Lagos. If you are looking at all of them at one point or the other has served in different locations all over the country. I don't know if Zubairu, or what is his name, had served in Lagos before, but I know that he would have gone to some other places. And of course, they know what Lagos State is as good as, the London or the America of Nigeria. So if at that level, they would have visited Lagos one point or the other and the line. And his own is to understand the numerical strength of the police. He is the only person that is being redeployed. There are the DCs are still there, the ACs are still there, the DPOs are still there and the like. They understand the terrain.
And the rank and file.
And the rank and file and all those stuff like that. So it's just for them to say, these are the hot spots we have in Lagos. These are the flash points. These are areas we normally deploy X and Z to. Then he brings his own professionalism into it and say, reduce this, increase this, based on crime statistics you have in Lagos State. And of course, based on antecedent of election in Lagos State, you should be able to do a proper deployment. That's all. Lagos has really not been known for, especially during election, there has not been violence as such compared to
and the same goes to all the states. Now, the Civil Society Joint Action Committee some time ago identified about 20 states that would have that identified as flashpoints during the election. Now, in all of this, as a security expert, I know you have also been following the developments. Which states do you think will be a little more prone to violence or security concerns, if I have to put it that way?
Well, I think if I have to mention, I will just mention 2 out of a lot. Okay. Kaduna and Rivers State.
Why is that?
Now, Rivers State, because you and I know that Wike has always been, and Amechi, they've always been at loggerhead right from the beginning. If you look at the last election that brought Wike in, you will see that it was marred with a lot of violence. Look at the election and the local government elections and the like, and you see the level of violence. For Kaduna State, I think that it is more of the governor's utterances. The governor has not been able to develop himself to the extent of understanding the power of the office he's sitting. So he seems to be talking more from emotion, even though well articulated from intellectual perspective. But wisdom is not always applied. Choice of words are very important. So if you look at it, what is happening in southern Kaduna and the another part of Kaduna, you see that it's been a very hot seat right from the word go. Look at how even big political bigwigs defected from APC to other parties, the Sani and the likes. Look at how he demolished the opponents and built houses and all those stuff like that. Now, those are accumulation of... then another place you can talk about will be Akwa Ibom. Akwa Ibom State may also have its own fair share of violence
or
if
security
not
concerns.
well, yes, if not well managed, because the former governor, what is his name?
Akpabio.
Godswin Akpabio, is a bigwig. He is a force to be reckoned with. And the incumbent governor too, is not a small boy. So at the end of the day, you now see that. And for me, Akpabio wants to make a statement.
Yeah, but if we have to really follow these issues, big wigs, like you have mentioned in Rivers State, in Kaduna State, in Akwa Ibom State, this is also the same thing in Imo State, is also the same thing in Ogun State, and maybe even in Kwara State.
No, Ogun State is not a problem.
It's a different issue.
It's a different issue.
However, when big wigs are fighting against each other politically, how does it necessarily translate to the security concern if actually they're following the rules like everybody says they do?
Well, unfortunately, they don't follow the rules, one. Secondly, they have their thugs that they always fall back on. And because they have their thugs, that is why you see the impetus. You and I know that none of them can engage in physical combat because of age, because of luxury, because of exposure to the good things of life. They will run away. I will bet you that on the 19th, when I was having an election on the 16th of February, presidential election, I can bet you that that same night, some of them already have their flight tickets. Immediately after election, they are out of the country and will monitor the result of the election from outside the country. It is whether if they win, you see them back. If they lose, they stay there until all tension. They begin to give their boys command as to what to do and what not to do within that period of time. So, you see, the whole thing is for the security agencies to do what you call risk analysis, the vulnerability analysis of each state. Now, look at threat assessment. Do what you call crime detection. Now, with all this, you'll be able to bring up a sound security solution. Now, that will help you to determine how many personnel to be deployed to which state and which spot exactly. Who are the politicians that you are supposed to put a red flag on? It will help you to determine all those. Now, it will also help you to know the resources to be deployed. It will help you to also know the types of arms, ammunition, and the security gadget to be used in each of these locations. Now, this whole thing is more first of a board, the boardroom work first. Before each of press and the like is just the end result that we're expected to see. The security agencies must also be able to educate their boys that, look, because they can also be the reason for the violence. If you go to polling units or polling booths and nobody is creating any sin, nobody is creating any violence, but because you imagine that 2, 3, 4 people are gathered together, they are most likely going to cause violence, then you shoot into the air. The shot into the air may be the beginning of violence. And these are things that the Commissioner of Police, these DCPs, and all the security agencies that are involved must teach the security on ground the use of firearms. That sound itself can be the beginning of violence.
All right. So when it comes to collaboration and work right now, we know that the police for the elections as of today have not been deployed yet. But how soon to the elections should all of these deployments come? Because when you're on ground ahead of the election, you know how to handle like all of the boardroom and the chess game when it comes to moving security here and there will be involved right now.
No, you see, timing is not the problem.
Okay.
With respect to when they should be deployed.
All right.
Because there are two factors you have to look at. One, strategies are not always something you expose to the public. Also, the fact that they go there on time too could also mean opportunity for corruption. They can be corrupted even within the shorter period of time, not to even talk of when you have them long enough and all those stuff. And don't forget also that they have primary responsibility in each of their locations. the election is just for one day. So they can be there a day before the election. It doesn't make any difference. Okay. There are always policemen and security agencies in everywhere in the country that are going about their normal business. So if it means redeploy or shuffling among them, it could be shuffled. They call it special duty. Okay. It could be shuffled within 24 hours. And after the special duty, they are back to their primary location. All right. It doesn't make any difference.
Tony Foyeton, thank you very much for lending a voice on this and giving us some insight into this.
Thank you.
Thank you.